On the sidewalk of a gas station, a little girl was carefully wiping down the hood of a luxury car. The millionaire, watching from the window, thought about telling her to stop until he heard the song she was softly singing. It was the same song his daughter used to sing with her mother before the accident. It was just another overcast morning in Seattle, but something in the air felt heavier than usual. In the side parking lot of an old gas station, wedged between a roadside diner and a rundown car wash, a little girl leaned over the hood of a black Bentley Continental GT polished to showroom shine. She wasn't supposed to be there. No uniform, no permission, no adult in sight. But she scrubbed carefully like the car was a sacred relic. From the driver's seat behind the tinted window, Henry Caldwell watched in silence. Impeccable suit, $500,000 Swiss watch on his wrist, eyes lost. He had just left an investor meeting that would have made any other man celebrate. But Henry felt nothing. Ever since the accident, there was nothing left to feel. He thought about honking, startling her, rolling the window down and telling her to stop. But then he heard it. A thin voice, barely a whisper, a melody he hadn't heard in years. The words came softly like memories whispered by ghosts. A children's song, not just any song, that song. The one his daughter used to sing with her mother on Sunday mornings when he pretended to sleep, just to hear them laughing in the kitchen. His throat clenched. No, it couldn't be. It was impossible. The girl, still focused on the hood, kept humming. Bare feet on the cold sidewalk, small hands wrapped in a cloth that looked like an old t-shirt. She sang with her eyes closed, and there was something in her tone, not just the lyrics, but the way each word carried a raw, unmistakable tenderness that made Henry's heart pound for the first time in months. He opened the car door with a sharp click. His footsteps on, the concrete echoed louder than they should have. The girl flinched. She looked at him like someone facing a king or a monster, but she didn't back away, didn't apologize. She just stopped singing. "Where did you learn that song?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. She looked at him for a moment. Big dark eyes locked onto his, dust on her cheeks, a smudge of oil on her forehead, but her voice was steady. "My mom used to sing it to me before she left." Henry felt the world spin. This couldn't be happening. It had to be some cruel joke or maybe a sign. "What's your mother's name?" She hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the station entrance. Then back to him. Abigail Moore. And in that moment, everything collapsed. Henry staggered a step backward. The air left his lungs. This wasn't real. Abigail Moore, the same name carved into the headstone where he buried his wife. But their daughter had died with her, hadn't she? That's what they told him. That's what he had believed all these years. But then he heard that voice. The girl, now with her eyes squeezed shut like she was bracing for the world, began to sing again. The same melody, the same tone. But this time there was a note of pain that hadn't been there before, as if her voice already knew what it was about to awaken in him. He dropped to his knees, the concrete tearing his tailored pants, but he didn't care. Tears came before he could stop them. A silent avalanche. She stopped singing. "Mister, are you okay?" Henry looked up, eyes blurred. She had asked if he was okay. How could he possibly answer that? The world he knew, the reality he had been forced to accept for the last 5 years, had just shattered on the oil-stained concrete of a gas station. He looked at her, really looked at her, through the veil of his tears. The dust, the grime, the old clothes, they were a disguise. Underneath it all, he saw it now. The shape of Abigail's chin, the exact shade of his own mother's eyes, a deep hazel that looked almost brown in the shadow. The way she held her head, slightly tilted, a gesture so familiar it was a physical blow. "My name is Henry," he managed to say, his voice a ragged whisper. "What's your name?" The girl watched him cautiously, clutching the rag to her chest like a shield. "Lily," she said softly. "My name is Lily." Henry's breath hitched. Lily, the name he and Abigail had chosen for their daughter, if she was a girl. A name for a child they never got to meet, they'd said. A secret wish. They had only ever discussed it in whispers, in the dark, planning for a future that was stolen. This couldn't be a coincidence. It was an impossibility made flesh. "Lily," he repeated, the name tasting like a long-lost prayer on his tongue. Who do you live with? Where is your mom now? Lily's steady gaze faltered. She looked down at her bare feet. My mom, she went away a long time ago. After the big crash, she said. I live with my Uncle Ray. He works here at the station. She gestured vaguely toward the mechanic's bay. He says I'm a burden and I have to earn my keep. That's why I clean the cars. He says nice cars have nice people who leave good tips. A fire ignited in Henry's chest, cold and furious. He followed her glance to the station, seeing it not as a tired landmark, but as a prison. The run-down car wash, the grimy diner, this was her world. The crash, Henry pressed, his hands trembling. What did your mom tell you about the crash? Lily shrugged, a small, heartbreaking motion. Not much. Just that it was raining, like it always is, and that a big truck came. She said I was brave. She said she had to make sure I was safe with family before she left. The pieces, jagged and horrifying, began to click into a picture he didn't want to see. The accident, the rain-slicked highway outside Seattle, the semi-truck that had crossed the median. Abigail had been 5 months pregnant. The police report, the hospital staff, they had been clear. Both occupants, his wife and his unborn child, were gone. He had identified Abigail's body himself. But what if, in the chaos, in the brutal impact, a miracle had occurred? What if the child had been delivered, alive but fragile, in the wreckage before the ambulances arrived? What if someone, for reasons he couldn't yet fathom, had taken that baby and vanished? Uncle Ray, Henry stood up, his legs unsteady. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, the gesture wiping away not just tears, but the last 5 years of numb acceptance. He was no longer a ghost, drifting through a life of meetings and mergers. He was a father. Take me to your Uncle Ray. Lily, he said, his voice now firm, a command edged with a protective ferocity she must have heard. She nodded, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, and led him around the side of the station to a small, cluttered office door. Inside, a man in grease monkey overalls was counting cash from a lockbox. He looked up, irritation turning to confusion, then to a defensive scowl as he saw Lily, followed by a man in a suit that probably cost more than his annual salary. Can I help you? Ray asked, not getting up. You must be Ray, Henry said, his tone icy, devoid of all the warmth that had been there moments before. I'm Henry Caldwell. This young lady was just cleaning my car and singing a song only my late wife knew. Ray's face paled. He shot a sharp, venomous look at Lily. I told you not to bother the customers with your noise. She wasn't bothering me, Henry interrupted, stepping slightly in front of Lily. She was enlightening me. I need to know everything. About her mother. About how she came to be with you. Ray's defiance crumbled under Henry's intense, unyielding gaze. It was the gaze of a man who had lost everything and was now staring at a single, stolen piece of it. He sighed, a defeated, ugly sound. Look, mister, it's not what you think. My sister Abigail, she was in a bad way after the accident. She showed up here one night, barely coherent, holding this baby. Said the father was gone, said she couldn't keep her, that it was too dangerous. She was scared, really scared. Said there were questions about the crash. She gave me some money, not much, and left Lily with me. Said she'd be back when it was safe. She never came back. A year later I saw her obituary. Figured whatever she was scared of got to her. Henry's mind raced. Dangerous people? The accident had been ruled. Just that, a tragic accident. Had Abigail discovered something? Had she faked her own death to protect their child? The body he identified, had it been too damaged, or had he been too grief-stricken to question? The agony of that moment surged back, but now it was mixed with a searing, clarifying rage. You figured? Henry's voice was low, dangerous. You figured, and then you made a little girl work for her keep? She's your family. She's a mouth to feed. Ray snapped, then shrunk back. I did my best. Your best ends now, Henry stated, absolute finality in his words. He turned to Lily, who was watching the exchange with wide, solemn eyes. He knelt down again, ignoring the concrete. Lily, my name is Henry Caldwell. I know this is hard to understand, but I believe I knew your mother very well. "I believe I am your father." Lily didn't cry. She didn't run. She simply stared at him, absorbing this seismic shift in her universe. "My dad died in the crash," she said, repeating a story she'd been told her whole life. "That's what Mom said." "I think maybe she wanted to keep you safe," Henry said, his heart breaking at the confusion in her eyes. "And I'm so sorry I didn't find you sooner. But I'm here now, and I would like you to come with me, if you want to." He would not force her. This was her choice. The enormity of it hung in the air, thick with the smell of gasoline and old regret. Lily looked from Henry's tear-streaked, earnest face to Ray's sullen, guilty one. She looked at the dingy office, the view of the car wash, the life of bare feet and cleaning rags. Then she looked back at Henry, at the car he drove, at the world he represented, a world where she might have belonged. Slowly, she reached out and placed her small, grimy hand in his large, clean one. It was an answer. Henry stood, holding her hand as if it were the most precious thing in the universe. He looked at Ray, pulling a business card and a pen from his inner pocket. He wrote a number on the back. "This is my lawyer. You will speak with him. You will tell him everything, every detail. Depending on what he finds, and what the investigation into my wife's death now uncovers, we will decide what happens next. But you will not see Lily again, unless she one day chooses to see you." He didn't wait for a reply. He led Lily out of the office, past the gleaming Bentley. He didn't open the passenger door. Instead, he opened the rear, the place where family would sit. He helped her in, her feet dangling over the rich leather. He took the old t-shirt rag from her gently, and from his pocket he pulled a clean, monogrammed handkerchief. He carefully wiped the smudge of oil from her forehead. "Let's go home, Lily," he said. As he drove away from the gas station, the overcast Seattle sky began to break. A single shaft of sunlight pierced the clouds, illuminating the hood of the car. In the back seat, Lily was silent. Watching the city, she knew blur into a city she didn't. Then softly, almost inaudibly, she began to hum the song again. This time Henry joined her. His voice was rough, cracked with disuse and emotion, but he sang. The melody filled the silent car, weaving around them, stitching together the broken threads of a family. It was no longer a ghost's whisper. It was a bridge. He didn't know the challenges ahead, the legal battles to establish paternity, the police investigation he would demand into the accident, the therapy they would both need, the process of learning how to be a father to a 5-year-old who had never had one. He didn't know how to explain to his investors, his friends, his empty mansion, that life had just begun again. All he knew was the sound of her voice mingling with his, and the weight of her small hand that had found his, a weight that anchored him to the earth for the first time in years. The road ahead was long and winding, shrouded in the mist of unresolved mysteries and past pain. But for now, in this moment, they had the song, and it was enough to begin again. If this story of a shattered family finding its way back together touched your heart, please show your support for our channel. Like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. We are dedicated to bringing you real-life tales of hope, unexpected connections, and the moments of kindness that can change a life forever. Your engagement helps us find and share more of these powerful stories. Thank you for watching, and remember, a single moment of recognition can rewrite a destiny.